Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29 podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chouinard. I am here with Glen Willis and Tyler Jones on a Sunday night after 82 games of the regular season. The Hawks are playing the Knicks in the playoffs, and Buddy Hield just scored 31 points. Where do you want to begin, Tyler?
Uh, Interesting matchup. I prefer to play the Cavs, but it's not really a difference overall between the Cavs and the Knicks. Um, yeah, I mean, I think the match is going to come down to can they control Mitchell Robinson in the paint? Uh, I guess because like I think they have their advantages over their starting lineup. But Mitchell Robinson with Jack Landale out, Hawks are going to have to make some decisions on what they do with their rotation. So I think that's going to be really going to decide the series to me. Um, can Tony Bradley hold up? We'll see, but it should be a fun series.
What do you think about the Knicks Hawks series, Glenn?
I think it's going to be competitive. I mean, we've talked about this before, how the Hawks are their guard in their in their backcourt, they've swung towards a lot of defense, but there's a lot of offensive capability too. CJ gives them a lot of offensive juice. Nikhil's obviously taken a huge step forward in offense this year, just a massive step forward there. And Dyson knows how to screen, break the paint, create passing lanes, create cutting lanes, things like that, and create pressure himself. But the ball pressure on for Jalen Brunson is going to be key. Like how to control him, how to defend him without fouling, how to recognize game to game the where the officiating crew draws the line on how much physicality they allow might be different game to game, and you have to adjust to that very early in the game and recognize that. And so to protect a back line that's not ideal defensively, with Onyeka being not being the strongest rim protector, he's a switchable guy. He can get up to the level. He can do all those sorts of things. Have no idea if Landell's gonna be able to play in game one. I don't know that we'll know until like the middle of next week to start maybe getting a little information on that. But he's critical to have. Bradley can give you 10 minutes, 10 to 11 minutes a game, I think, of just, um just being physical and occupying space and just kind of being a pro. I know he hasn't had a lot of time to acclimate to what they're doing. He's looked pretty rough so far, but he hasn't really been playing in a while. So the whole key is controlling Jalen Brunson. That's the whole key is on defense is controlling him. And that's got to be a workload share, maybe between Gabe Vincent and Nikhil, because you might have to put Dyson on Cat. Right, you might have to go that direction, like just like they did with Giannis,
No,
in the season. So, it's going to be you want someone who can get
no,
up to an
Glenn.
undercat. So
All
it's
right,
going to be a
I hear
key.
you. That sounds great in theory. You put Dyson on Jalen Brunson. Uh, you tell either Jalen Johnson to suck it up and guard Cat, or Onyeka does it. Uh, like that's the only real options to me. That can't be playing games. I think Nikhil, Jalen Brunson has too much of a strength advantage over Nikhil Alexander Walker. I wouldn't like that matchup just full time. You can go to it at certain sense, but like that's just you're just begging Jalen to get in the rhythm. Dyson takes Jalen Brunson out of rhythm. It forces them to try other things. If Jalen Johnson were to step up and take on the take on the assignment of guarding Cat, I'd be happy with that. But I don't know. I don't know if he's going to do that, but like that would be ideal. Put Jalen on Cat, then have Onyeka help shade with him guarding Josh Hart. That's the ideal matchup, and that's probably what they're going to get to eventually. Dyson, I think it's a waste of Dyson's talent to put him on Cat because then they're just not going to give Cat the ball. They're not going to give Cat the ball. Dyson's not going to be in the play. He's going to be half the force to guard Cat as a spacer. Like they're not going to give Cat the ball in the post against Dyson Daniels. They're not stupid. They'll just run the offense through Jalen. So that's one where you're like, all right, pick your poison. I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna lose a series, I'm gonna lose because Cat's draining 35 footers. I'm not losing. I'm not losing no damn series if I can stop Jalen. If I have the opportunity to stop Jalen Brunson, I'm doing that. So that's why I'm like, no, you're going to put Dyson Daniels on their best offensive player and live with the results from the rest of the guys. Like it's going to be on Yucca and Jalen Johnson to step their game up on defense.
And
No,
it's gonna be
no
it's gonna
excuse for
be
me. No, I'm
it,
sorry, Glenn. I got to cut you off. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that, but like, it's no excuse between Onyeka and Jalen Johnson. Cat does not have a physical advantage over either of them. He should not be going off against them. If he does, that's on them, and they got to take it personally. Period.
yeah. So and the key, if that's the way that Quinn goes, is they got to keep their hands back. They have to have complete discipline with their hands because Cat will do the rip through. He'll do all that stuff that he does. And they both struggled with that technique this year. And so that's something that they have got to really commit to doing if that's the way that it's going to go. Because they put their hands in front of themselves all the time. And you want to create stress on him as a ball handler. Once he's a dribbler, you can get a hand in there, right? If he's not, before he gets into a dribble, he's got his ball back on his hip. You want to put some pressure and kind of get your hands in there, but you got to know how to get them out when he tries to kind of go get that foul. And that's just something they haven't been consistently good enough with this year. Maybe they can get that fixed before they have a week, 6 days, or whatever the number of days it's going to be before they play. We'll find out the schedule in a couple of days, I would assume. But they've got to play with way more discipline than they have at any point this season for that to be successful, and maybe they can figure it out.
Okay, so backtracking a little bit here. A minute ago, Tyler was talking about who guards Cat. And so, like, with the Hawks, they're going to play up to the level of the screen, right? When these actions with Cat and Jalen Brunson, they're going to have the big up high. It's not going to be drop. Do you want Onyeka up there? I feel like if you just look at the season as a whole, it's almost surely going to be Onyeka up at the top, right there. Isn't that what it's going to be for like rebounding purposes? Because yeah, you don't love necessarily Jalen having to be the help defender at the rim, but if you do it the other way, isn't it going to get ugly from a rebounding point of view if you have Jalen up high and Onyeka down low?
Yes, yeah, they're going to be
No,
rebounding
but
challenge if
Knicks,
that's their configuration.
I disagree. I like if the Knicks are going to be small because they're going to play Cat at the 5, Josh Hart at the 4. Uh, they should have enough. Like Onyeka should be able to gang. They should be able to gang rebound because like to me like cut off like I'm like let's start this like series off right. Let's start this series off serious. Put Dyson Daniels on Jalen Brunson. Put Jalen Johnson on Cat. You switch every single action they do to so that they have to do something else. Like you got to take some stuff away. Take that away. I'll live with and the rest of the teams got to figure out how they're going to rebound from there. But like to me, where they've gotten in trouble against the Cavs and the Knicks 2 times now is Onyeka up the floor, Jalen nowhere to be seen on as a help defender when his man rolls the rim. Nowhere to be seen. That can't happen. I can't watch a single goddamn possession of Jalen Johnson not being in help position if he's not going to be guarding Cat this series. Like I'm not gonna deal with that. I'm not gonna take it because like this is like all right, it's serious mode. Like every possession matters. Like these games are gonna come down to like 1 or 2 possessions, and we can take away like we can take away possessions by simply executing on defense. And Jalen Johnson has not shown me anything this year that suggests he is able to execute when he's tasked with being the weak side help defender. He has on every other scheme. When it's switched, he's perfectly fine. So I'm like, all right, let's switch early. Let's see what the Knicks have to do with that. If we can generate some turnovers here, that's to our advantage. I'm like, let's be aggressive more than passive, which would be like Onyeka guarding Cat. It's not that Onyeka can't guard Cat, it's what's happening behind Onyeka that is going to concern me. Because
Right.
especially if CJ McCollum's in the game, like there's a lot of responsibility that has to be taken care of as the low man defender in this, hypothetical that we're dealing with. Because I mean, Kevin, to your point, for the most part, when Onyeka's up the floor, he's not guarding a spacing big. He's guarding a guy. He can leave open, like the team can leave open and trust, to get in. He's primarily worried about boxing him out at the end of the day. He's trying to take away the 3-point attempt. With Cat is different. He has to like stay with his man or switch. And now if you're switching Onyeka on the Jalen, it's just I don't know. I don't know if that's what the Hawks want to do uh, for a 48-minute basketball game. He can do it for certain possessions, but I don't think that should be the like, oh, we're going to the game. Yeah, we're switching all the Cat Brunson actions, and Onyeka is going to be the primary Cat defender. That doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, I sort of agree. I would be worried about the rebounds, but with the lineups that don't have Mitchell Robinson, if you've got Cat starting at center and Cat spacing the floor, like I kind of agree with you. I don't think they have the world's greatest lineups. It just kind of goes against everything that they've done all season. But this is the time
But
to
I
come
mean,
up with new ideas and be maximally efficient based on who your opponent is. So
the issue is that Cat's a unique player, like, and you have to
he
deal
is.
with unique rules here.
Yeah, that's true. What if we backtrack to the Cavaliers game, we got to see another game of what we're sure to see in this playoff series, which was Evan Mobley guarding Dyson Daniels. And, the Hawks did a pretty good job. They got CJ McCollum in a groove. And, if you do that and you've got Dyson Daniels setting picks for him in space, that can work. Uh, I suspect that we've got a lot more of that coming from the Knicks. What is it going to look like in this playoff series with how they guard Dyson Daniels? What do you think, Glenn?
I mean, you got to count on Dyson being a screener, short rolling, getting to the nail, all that stuff that he does really, really well to create, kind of be the guy who's creating all that pressure on the middle of the defense without the ball, or with the ball if he's attacking, a seam or whatever it might be. But he does that stuff really, really well. I thought it was hilarious that I responded to I don't know who the guy was, made a video that said Dyson Daniels was a terrible offensive player, and we Hawks can't have that fight or whatever. He has the
Right.
best individual offensive rating on the team. I know that that's a noisy stat, and it's not the most reliable thing in the world. He gets a ton of that in transition, and he creates a lot of that from his defense, and I understand all that stuff, right? But we can say he has gotten better in the half court offense as this season has progressed by leaning into, like we say this all the time, leaning into the things he's good at: screening, rolling, short rolling, attacking space, drawing two defenders down into the paint and finding an open 3-point shooter on the 3-point line, all that sort of stuff. And it's been a build up to that. You can tell he's been working on really refining all those areas of his game. I'll also say the Knicks are really good defensively. Like OG is, I mean, to me, it's crazy. Evan Mobley won Defensive Player of the Year last. OG is way better defender than Evan Mobley, in my view. He's so strong. He's so good. And so it's
Yep.
not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. They might put, OG on Jalen like as much as they can. That might be what Jalen has to deal with. That's going to be no fun for Jalen at all, right? So can you get a switch force there? Can you get Brunson onto Jalen? Can you make that happen? The Knicks are very disciplined in recognizing Josh Hart is the best communicator on that team by far defensively. He sees everything, calls it out. They don't let Jalen get into those. They do everything they can to keep Jalen out of those switches. But if you're working hard enough to kind of get Jalen Brunson onto Jalen Johnson, that's the stuff that you have to kind of go make work. But the Knicks are very good at not letting you do the things that you want to do to kind of create those switches. And so that's just going to be really, fascinating to see if the Hawks can kind of figure out those adjustments and how to make that happen more successfully than they did and sometimes in the regular season. But I mean, for me, it's creating offense for defense. That has to be what they do, right? They need 20 to 25 points of that every single game. Dyson as an offensive rebounder and Yeka as an offensive rebounder. Dyson's been their best offensive rebounder on the team for months now. And so that's what they have to kind of lean into. They have to just play hard, play physically, recognize where the crew is drawing the line and how much physicality is being allowed. But man, they're really, really good defensively. Cat's kind of a dumb defender. He makes stupid plays a lot of times. He's a bad rebounder and will, do things like that. And you can go get fouls on him if you work hard enough and kind of put him on the ball, right? You can go get fouls on him. Those are the things that they have to really try to activate, in my mind, to set themselves up for success offensively.
Tyler, how are the Knicks going to line up defensively against the Hawks, and what do the Hawks need to be doing once they see that?
Not sure because I think they're going to switch it up. I, I don't think they're going to just let Dyson Daniels be in the Draymond Green role, which is what basically what he did against the Cavs, where okay, you're gonna not guard me. I'm just gonna set these screens like CJ McCollum and Nikhil Alexander Walker, Steph Curry, and go from there. So I don't think the Knicks are going to guard Dyson like that. I could totally see them putting OG on Dyson Daniels and have him be the supreme help defender that he is, switch every pick and roll action that he tries to run. So I do think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be easy like it was against the Cavs. The Cavs have a lot of um, weaknesses defensively that they try to mask with a variety of ways that the Hawks are able to exploit. The Knicks, outside of Jalen Brunson, don't really play bad defenders. Even Cat, if he's not fouling, as long as Cat's in position, he's fine. So the key is going to be, can we get Cat out of position? Can we force him to make decisions as a rim protector? That what that's going to require is proper spacing, and the spacing was pretty mediocre for the first two games this week against the Knicks and the Cavs. Just how guys were positioned on the floor. So I think regardless of what the Knicks do, it's going to be on the Hawks to maintain their principles on offense, maintain their spacing primarily, and trust each other to get the best option. Like they probably don't want to fall into the trap of CJ McCollum isoing against Jalen Brunson. Yes, he can do that, but that's not going to generate good offense for them. They might want to, at the same time, like I suggested, they might want to try some interesting stuff with CJ. He has such a physical size advantage against him. They might want to try post ups. Uh, they're uh, whoever Catsman's guarding is almost going to be certain. Ideally, whoever Catsman is guarding, if that basketball player can dribble, can they run some action with that player in more or less the Draymond role? Like so, like that's where it's like, all right, if he's gonna guard Dyson, we get him in the Draymond role. Let's force him to make some decisions here. Then we get a good offensive player against Jalen Brunson going downhill. That's a win for us. Uh, that's kind of where I'm thinking they shouldn't look for one, but overall, like I don't think they should look for one matchup in particular to exploit more as run your offense, run your principles, and that should open some stuff up. They should be able to score against their bench units because they're smaller outside of Mitchell Robinson at the same time. So it's going to be imperative. Uh, Quinn might want to consider swapping a Kongwu out early for like for Mo Gay to have a Kongwu matchup with Mitchell Robinson 100% of the time, primarily just to get Mitchell Robinson up the floor. So, and also run post ups for a Kongwu, depending on who's guarding him. Like if it's not OG Anunoby or Karl Anthony Towns, I think that's some good action they can get to. They can draw some quick, cheap fouls against somebody who's not going to be physically capable of stopping a combo from getting to a spot. So those are some stuff they can look to. But overall, like the Knicks are, like I said, the Knicks are going to be a tougher matchup. But uh, uh, I do think that there are some stuff they can do on both ends that they should be able to excel at to ultimately pull the series out.
With Jock Landale, I think the initial injury report came out April 2nd with will update in approximately 2 weeks, which will be, I think, Thursday. Barring some sort of miraculous recovery where he's really fully ready to go in game one, will Tony Bradley be in the playing rotation for this Knicks series, Glenn?
It's going to be interesting to see. He hasn't acclimated much at all. He's a little better today, but I mean, the Heat were, playing their depth guys a good bit of the game too on that side, so it made it a little bit easier for him in that sense. But I think it's one of those things where you throw it where like if they're struggling to keep Mr. Robinson off the glass, you throw him out there for even if it's just 5 to 6, 4 to 5 minutes a half, and let him use that body he has to keep him off the glass. The other thing is when the Knicks so sometimes Mr. Robinson just hangs out in the dunker spot. That's where he is because that's where he can rebound from, right? That happens a lot. On the other side, as a screener, he's pretty sloppy, and so he's a big guy. Really, really, really big guys have a harder time kind of getting set, getting the timing with their guard, all that stuff. And so if you can kind of work that too and get a couple fouls on him, and kind of create a foul constraint for him, that's helpful. That's helpful too. But Mo can handle some responsibility on Cat. I think if I wouldn't give him 15, 20 minutes a game, but he can kind of get into him, get under him, as long as he keeps his hands back and out of the way, and such. But Bradley might have to deal with Mitchell Robinson if they're struggling to rebound. That might be what Quinn has to do.
What do you think there, Tyler?
Probably gonna have to go to it, but um, I, I it'll be interesting. I think to me, I think Quinn just has to have a Kongu in the game when Mitchell Robinson's in the game. If he can buy some minutes with Bradley doing that by having that's where I went back to he may want to sub Mo Gay into the game early than usual for a Kongu and try to match minutes from there to really just take Mitchell Robinson's oxygen out. Don't give him any momentum, force, and ultimately, and at the same time, really exploit his weaknesses as a on both ends of the floor, particularly with a Kongu's ability to space. So I think that's where Quinn's going to have to be uh, just a little bit more diligent with his rotations here. He can't just have set rotations. He's going to have to game theory it out with Mike Brown. Uh, try to get in his head of what he's doing with his rotations with the center. I mean, ideally, if Jack Landale's healthy, you just have Jock in the game. Regular rotation, you don't have to worry about it. But I don't think that's going to be an option. So I think it's going to be on Quinn to really like figure out when he can get Mo in there. All right, Cat's coming out for Mitchell. We got to sub. We got to sub Bradley into the game. Don't be surprised when they go double big. Do you have when the Knicks eventually do go double big because they're probably going to do that with Mitchell Robinson and Karl Towns? Do you have Jalen Johnson at the 3, or do you bring Kuminga in sooner? These are decisions Quinn's going to have to make. I think Kuminga, by the way, Kuminga on Cat's probably a good matchup as well. Something the Hawks are going to want to do. A lot of teams put their wings on Cat. That's just kind of that's just the scheme in the NBA with spacing bigs. You put your wing, your biggest wing on your big. That's what I expect the Knicks to do with OG and Onyeka. So I think that's something Quinn may need to bring Kuminga in the game sooner. I just think what he can't have happen is for the Hawks to lose games because they're physically outmatched when he has pieces in the rotation to counter that. Like he shouldn't be afraid to play Bradley. I'll say that because Mitchell Robinson, for his strengths as a basketball player, has real weaknesses that Tony Bradley can absolutely exploit. As with Mitchell Robinson's shortcoming as an offensive player in particular. So I think it's going to be on Quinn to like acknowledge, all right, I may have to play more guys than what I would expect in a playoff rotation, just to really take Mitchell because you ultimately because like if you look at what the Knicks did in the last playoffs, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals on the strength of Mitchell Robinson, absolutely brutalizing teams on the offensive glass because they didn't have until they ran up against the Pacers and like he just tossed Tony Bradley out there and like all of a sudden Mitchell Robinson wasn't as much of a factor. So like that's what you want. If you're gonna lose this game, you're gonna lose your game because your best players weren't as good as the Knicks' best players. You don't want to lose a game or lose a series because you're getting outmatched physically. Particularly when, like I said, you have the ability to not have that happen. So hopefully, like I think Quinn understands that. He went to that. He went to Tony Bradley against the Knicks, signing him the day of. I think he understands like that's something I'm going to have to do. So it's going to be on, it's going to like this is really more of a Quinn than really any of the players because outside of Onyeka and Tony Bradley, like nobody has the strength to really handle Mitchell Robinson on the offensive glass. So like it's going to be important that Quinn kind of matches that up.
Yeah, there's all these micro decisions too, right? Like Tony, you're going to play 11 minutes tonight. You have 6 fouls. Use all of them on Mitchell Robinson. Put his
Yep.
butt on the free throw line, right? Do not let him get a shot attempt on an offensive rebound. Put him on the line. All those micro decisions that get kind of built into what your strategy is are really going to matter. Really going to matter.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's important. I think Bradley is you're going to have to at least try to play him. You're going to have to try to, jigger the rotation so that, like Tyler said, it's going to be a Kongwu and Tony Bradley to be the two players that are in there when Mitchell Robinson is in there. And, Cat, the whole thing like Tyler was saying about having wings guard him. I mean, part of that is just because a center cannot guard Cat and do the typical thing of, being able to cover any of the real estate behind him. It's just different. It's not a center shooting threes where he's shooting them with his toes, right on the line, 24 feet from the basket. Cat can shoot from 28. Like his release is quick. He's tall. It's unbelievable what a shooter he is at 7 feet tall. And it's just a different beast. The only way you can guard him as a shooter is if you're just trying to guard him as a shooter and not trying to do the things that typically a center would do. And so that might be a pretty good Mo Gay matchup. Like that.
Yep.
That's
Yeah, I watched the game. I feel like a month ago, and Denver had Christian Brown on Cat like the whole game, and Cat could not do anything with him. Could not dribble, could not put the ball on the floor. He was so frustrated. He was yelling at the rest the whole time. To Tyler's point earlier, like Jalen Brunson is the head of the snake, and that probably is where you start with Dyson. But there are ways to get someone who can get under Cat, not let him put the ball on the floor. You just gotta have the hand discipline to keep your hand out, not in front of you, back, and when he puts the ball on the floor, attack his dribble, in a legal way. That's why, and Mo can do that. Um, they have Kuminga can do that, for sure.
that was my next question. Tyler, I feel like if the Hawks had played the Cavaliers, Kuminga had a very clear role given some of the smaller and less athletic players that Cleveland is trying to sneak into their rotation. Against New York, what should Jonathan Kuminga's role be?
I think he has a similar role. He might have a better. I mean, he might. It's just going to be different
Right,
because
different how?
um, I think with the Cavs, he had a more opportunity to score just because he has such a
Sure.
physical advantage over the guys he's playing with. Against the Knicks, he's going to have to be more disciplined offensively, primarily. Like I just think he's got to be smarter with what the decisions he makes because he can get the proper matchup, but he has to either be patient or he has to work quickly. Like it's going to be on a like it's not going to be linear. Like you got to be patient all the time, or you got to make a quick read here. Like I think he's going to have to really like just be smart with what the decisions he makes with the ball in his hands in particular, because like if it's not OG uh or Mikal Bridges guarding him, he should be able to get to his spots. But the Knicks are smart. They're very smart with how they defend, and they have a lot of experience of understanding that teams want to pick at their weak defenders. Like they're very good at hiding that player or forcing, zoning up and all that stuff. And like that's where Kaminga struggles. So I think he needs to trust I think he needs to trust his teammates a little bit to set him up so that he doesn't have to do much thinking. Like if that makes sense. I'm not calling him dumb or anything. It's just more it's not a strength of his game compared to, I got a physical advantage. I'm getting middle. I'm getting to my mid ranger. It's easy buckets. It's not always going to be like that against the Knicks. Like the Knicks know that they're going to try to take that away. Okay, for the Hawks side, the other four guys on the floor, how can I set up coming up for success, particularly with the bench units, particularly when Jalen's not in the game? What can we do there to get him in good position? But overall, like I think he has opportunity to really excel when Mitchell Robinson isn't in the game, just because like he should be able to get to the front of the rim, and the Knicks don't have rim protection, so like that should be an advantage for him to get to the free throw line, get some paint touches, get some paint points. Hopefully, he's finishing a little bit better. If his knees getting better and more healthy here, he's able to finish with a little bit more confidence going forward because they're going to need him. It's just there's no sugarcoating it. They need it's all hands on deck against a team like the Knicks. The Knicks are a great basketball team. If the Hawks are going to beat them, they're going to need somebody like Kuminga to give them more, give them what he gave against the Cavs. The last 2 games that he played compared to what he did to the Knicks, where he wasn't bad, but um, they need they're going to want more from him as a player.
Same question for you, Glenn. How do the Hawks best implement Jonathan Kuminga in this series?
I mean, transition is key. Pace is key. Just looked it up. The Hawks finished fifth in pace. Knicks are 25th. Knicks want to slow it down, grind it out. The Hawks can't let them dictate that kind of slow pace. Deflections, turnovers, get out and run. The Hawks need, like I said, 20 to 25 points in that area every game to set themselves up for success. Um, but the Knicks are just really, really good at not letting you get the ball middle. And you've got to work. In the last game they played, like CJ was running a ton of ISO down below the 3-point break on the sides, and they had a second defender for helping from the corner. Bridges or OG would be there, and he would be on Brunson, and the second defender would come over and impact CJ. Be come halfway, be ready to kind of get another hand up and impact him, take an angle away from C. And they're so good at like finessing into. I'm coming halfway. I'm going to make CJ feel like he can't come towards me. So they have all this sophistication in how they do that. But the Hawks are going to have to work harder to get the ball middle. They just have to do that more consistently and more regularly than they did last game because the Knicks will just trick you into running ISO the whole damn game if you let them, right? And the Hawks cannot let that happen. That's how they lost the last game. Now their comeback when they always kind of came back, they were playing really hard on defense. They were getting deflections. They were getting that source of scoring. But in the set half court offense, they never got middle, and that's something they have to figure out very early in this series.
What are the keys to getting the ball middle? I mean, is it getting the ball from one side of the floor to the other so that they're not loaded up against you? Like where are some important factors so that those opportunities to get the ball middle don't disappear?
Yeah, so I mean, for example, when they run their wham action, which is when a 4 or 5 has the ball like just above the 3-point line on the on the edge of the lane, you get that cutter kind of coming over to the ball. The Knicks will push the guy trying to come get the ball in DHO or the guy cutting on the other side of the floor. They will push them past their screener. They will push them all the way past the guy who has the ball, and so you just got to not let them push you past the guy who has the ball. Right. And so it's all that stuff of being more physical and recognizing that is where it has to be. If they're running two out with CJ and CJ wants to get middle, it might take two screeners coming from the middle of the floor to get him free of whoever he has, where typically they only run it with one, right? That's the kind of thing that maybe the first screener brushes, the second screener sets a real screen, and CJ can get middle. So they're just going to be way more intentional and purposeful in creating the opportunity, creating the leverage to get the ball middle. They just didn't do a good enough job of that in the last game. Again, they almost won on their defense, right? They were almost got back to that game on their defense, but in the half court offense, they've got to find more ways to be intentional about not getting pushed past the point of the screen, not getting pushed past the point of DHO, resisting that, fighting it, make the ref call a foul, whatever you have to do, create that opportunity, create that leverage to get middle. They have to figure it out.
And I think something that can relieve some pressure for them is to trust Okongwu as more of a scorer here, particularly if he has physical advantages. I do think like if he has a smaller player on him, they have to scrap whatever play they're about to run and get him a post up. Like I know that sounds weird to do, but like he's a good post player. He's very good at getting to his. He's very good to get into his right hand to the middle of the floor against a smaller player. That's an easy way to do that. Like we don't need to reinvent the wheel every single possession. If the like force the Knicks to match you up physically, and then getting middle should be easier. You know, if that makes sense. Because now, all right, we have to put a bigger player on Onyeka. That means a smaller player is on a ball handler. That ball handler should be able to get to the middle of the floor because he's bigger. Like I think that's the math they have to be playing in their head uh, if they want to win this game or win this series.
Anything else you want to mention here? Do you want to talk about Buddy Hield? Do you want to talk about who the ninth player in the rotation is going to be? Like, what else do you want to talk about here before we're done?
It'll be interesting to see. Like, Kispert doesn't work in this matchup, in my opinion.
No.
We've talked about that. Now you're down 15 in the fourth quarter. You got to spam shooting. It might be an emergency, break glass in case of emergency kind of thing. But I think he's going to go 8.5 deep, and that's what it's going to have to be. You guys have to play 38, 37 minutes, 38 minutes a night. And if there's foul trouble, you have to lean more into the depth, like more your ninth, 10th guys, if that happens. But it's going to be 8.5. It should be 8.5. It should be the starters, plus off the bench. It's going to be interesting to see how much Zach plays or doesn't play. In this matchup, Kuminga should play a lot. Bradley should get his 10, 11 minutes. And then from there, you Gabe Vincent should give you 15 to 18. And that really should be I think so. I think
I
that
think that's a big number.
yeah,
That's a big number.
I think he's a very helpful player. He can shoot it. He can give Dyson and Nikhil a break for 8 minutes, whatever the number ends up being, right? But I'm a big believer in him being effective in this game, and to not have so much workload on Dyson and Nikhil the whole game. Like I said, even if it's just, Brunson usually plays the whole first quarter, he usually plays the whole third quarter. If even if he takes 4 minutes of each of those quarters, just to give those guys a break, helpful. So that's what I see.
I agree there. Like 4 minutes in a couple of quarters seems about right. I don't think it's going to be 15 minutes. Your typical spacing for a 7 game series, let's say they start on a Saturday, it's going to be Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, something like that. Like they're going to put 2 days between games at the beginning of a 7 round series in the first round. So you're playing like once every 3 days. You're going to see Dyson play 39 minutes. You're going to see
Yep.
Nikhil play 39 minutes. So I don't think
Yep.
they're going to go that deep with the bench when the games are spaced like
Yeah,
that.
we'll see. It's context minute, foul trouble, what other factors that you can't always control. So we'll see.
All right. Well, I appreciate you jumping in as soon as we knew who the matchup was. It's going to be fun. And good night, Bob.
Good night,
Good
Bob.
night.